Yes, I am called Struan. I'm not from around here. My hair isn't naturally this colour. It's one of the prices you pay for youth ministry. My 10 minutes hasn't started yet, has it?
No.
No.
How's
Okay.
now?
Great, okay. So, David asked me to talk about the struggle of now. What's going on? Why is Youthwork so difficult? Dude.
You want me to actually do it? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
thanks. Part-time, honestly, ridiculous. I'm no one important really, and we just all have to move on from that, but that's fine. What I wanted to talk about really, next slide. Youth work is hard work. It's always been hard, yeah? Kind of agreeing? Except, I think today it is uniquely difficult. Now that's not to say it's more difficult than it ever has been in the past, but it is uniquely difficult. There's a unique kind of set of circumstances in which we're doing youth ministry just now. And the three things that I really particularly wanted to talk about was the culture for society and youth today. There's a unique sort of mix of cultural influences that are really affecting our ministry. Our church culture, how it is basically kind of unhelpful, if I'm honest, with youth ministry, and hope deferred. So the Old Testament literate among you will probably recognise that, but anyway. Okay, so next slide. Thank you. Young people today are connected to their cultural influences more than any generation before them. If you read studies, oh, by the way, I should say, everything that I'm talking about today is either from like a published actual study by scientists, ranging from that to basically my personal opinion. So, but as I've got a microphone and a time limit, you're just going to have to question me on that later. Young people today, 8 hours per day of media. That's what they consume because of these smartphones, because of this constant partial engagement with all kinds of different cultural influences. And so, with 8 hours per day, that's what we're battling against. And young people are using this to form their worldviews, their sense of self, and they're more affected by more influences than any time in history. Okay, so some of those influences. Third generation unchurched. Now that's a significant one because it's not just them that was the first generation that's not coming to church. Their parents didn't come to church. It was their grandparents that left church. That means that church is alien and possibly a hostile environment. That's why when you are out there and you invite young people to church, they look at you as if you've just invited them to a bear's tea party on the moon. You know? It's ridiculous. Prevailing agnosticism, masked as atheism. Okay. This was my real attempt at trying to impress you. I'm going to use some long words. I'm going to try and explain it so it's not that long. But young people are basically agnostic. But they think they're atheists. Because atheism is cool. Why? I don't know. There's Jesus and there's Dawkins. They've not read either book. But Dawkins, even though he's a rubbish Jesus, seems to be more popular. That's kind of what's going down. General and moral relativism. The only absolute in a young person's life is their absolute indifference to your moral absolute. Got less of a laugh than I thought I would be, but you're thinking, that's cool, right, that's fine. Secularized and sexualized. Honestly, do I have to say a lot about that? Our culture is so secular, but that is to say from a very, very young age. The culture that young people are receiving is like that. Okay, keep going. Inconsistent and unsafe. All of this leads to an environment where young people are growing up in an inconsistent and unsafe world. Cyberbullying, self-harm, all of these things are rapidly on the rise, and that's a huge, huge difficulty. Okay. Our church culture. Now this is a nod. Who's employed by a church? Just out of interest. As a youth worker? A few less? Okay. The problem with employed youth ministry, terminal short-termism. Our churches are employing people in youth ministry roles for, on average, under 3 years. Now, how many youth workers do you think are making long-term plans because of that? Very few. Now, youth ministry the goal of youth ministry is a lifelong discipleship. Now, how can you achieve that with one person who's not making long-term plans? Okay, insecure positions. Workers are often have only got one eye on the job they're doing because their other eye is on whether or not they're going to have a job in a year's time. Their other eye is looking at other jobs elsewhere, right? There's no security behind that, and that's not helping ministry. You guys saw the recent survey that vicars have the #1 job satisfaction? Yeah? Did you read down the list? Youth workers, 223. Right? Not great. Outdated programmatic models. So take a look back at the previous one, which was way better than this. There's a ton of books about why the stuff that you were doing, the books from a decade ago are out of date and should be thrown in the bin. The other problem is the head pastor at church. If you're head pastor, please don't take offence. Your head pastor at church is the one who bought those books, and they're wondering why you're not using them and the youth ministry is not growing that way. And decline. So, well, let's just acknowledge that there is decline, okay? Because I need to move on really quickly. Church family, moralistic therapeutic deism. If you don't know what that means, try and figure it out. No? Okay. Moralistic therapeutic deism. We have replaced, as a church society, we've replaced Christianity, relationship with Christ, with this not quite Christianity that is basically, it's moralistic, it's nice to be nice, isn't it? It's therapeutic, it's nice to be church, isn't it? Deism. God's there when I need him. We've outsourced ministry. I don't have time to put it bluntly. Churches and Christians have seen it as the job of the youth worker to impart Christianity on their teens. And they reckon 1 hour a week should be enough. They're doing 8 hours a day on social media. Anyway, okay. The battle with parents. I hear this up and down the land. It feels like I'm fighting against the parents. I need the parents to see church as more important than exams. Now, I'm not going to answer the question, I'm going to ask the question. Have the youth workers really got to battle against parents? Shouldn't they be hand in hand with the parents? / grandparents. Complacency. The last thing that we need is this sort of church-wide complacency. That the youth minister will bring in the youth and make the youth ministry happen. Okay, last slide. Cool. Mike Yaconelli said, youth ministry is an experiment that has failed. If we want to see the church survive, we need to rethink youth ministry. There's an aging effect. So, you lost me. You know, at the youth ministry, you look at 11s to 14s group, it's bigger than your 15s to 18s group, it's bigger than your 20s to 30s, right? We're losing people all the way through. If youth ministry is successful, we'll be gaining people all the way through. So it should look like that, it does look like that. Again, just asking the question, can't answer it in 10 minutes, thanks Dave. Always be prepared, right? Thing is, what I think, because I've just ranted for a bit, and I've only said like kind of depressing things. The last 2 points I really kind of want to hammer home. The second half of that proverb, a hope deferred makes the heart grow sick, but a promise fulfilled is the tree of life. Now, there are loads of promises in Scripture. There are loads of promises and hope through our relationship with Jesus. And if we get this right, if we focus our young people back to that gospel, that life-changing, life-winning gospel, and see them hold on to that into their adult lives, disciples will make disciples. Growth comes by discipling. And that's Matthew 28. And there's all kinds of hope, and it's outrageously brilliant, but it's difficult. Your youth worker is having a hard time of it for all of these reasons. So support them. And I'm just about over time, so you could scrap all that and buy an Xbox for the youth room. Up to you.